Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. And hi, everyone. Um, we're in the middle of a retreat here at Zen Center. For those of you who just are dropping in for the Tuesday night, whether you're dropping in online or in person. And so that means we're not going to have tea and conversation afterwards because we're maintaining noble silence. I think that's pretty noble. I think so. So we're usually pretty friendly, but not tonight. And happy to see you guys online too. Most of you are showing your faces, which makes my heart warm. Oh, someone else showed her face. It makes my heart even warmer. Someone I know. This is my first series of 3 talks that I'm giving during this retreat. I gave a talk yesterday on pillars, yoga pillars, which I think underlie the Zen we do. Today, tomorrow, and the next day, I'm going to be talking about Huayan and how it infused the development of Chan and Zen and the practice we do, which Ben has taught about before. I think it's been 3 or 4 years since he taught the Avatamsaka Sutra. But someone in our group was just reminding me of that today and saying, it was good. It was good. So Huayan Buddhism. All in one and all. Within this cup of water, this glass of water, all life is here. And yet this cup of water is also not a cup of water because it's a manifestation of all life. It's a cup of water. All life is in here. Just look at it. Wow. Wow. You don't even have to smoke a joint. Wow. And yet when you look at it, there's no glass. It's just the radiance of all life. So this is Huayan teaching, which precedes a little bit the development of Zen. Some of the Huayan teachers actually then later became Zen teachers. It's pretty cool stuff. So, but I'm not going to talk much about the Avatamsaka tonight. That would be presumptuous of me because it's close to 1,000 pages and it's pretty trippy. If I talk continually for the rest of the retreat, and then I had Ben kind of back me up, I could talk about it. So the Flower Garland Sutra, the Avatamsaka Sutra that Huayan comes from, is originally Indian, and then it morphs into this Huayan approach in China, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit, how that morphing takes place and how it affects us, really, how it affects us. So it's called the Flower Garland Sutra, Flower Garland. And as with other Indian sutras, some of you might not know them, I'm getting to know them better than I ever thought I would. It's abstract, it's transcendental, it's otherworldly, it's impersonal, it's phantasmagorical. Phantasmagorical. And here in the sutra, godlike beings are walking around as teachers. Flowers are composed of gems. Flowers exude miraculous fragrances. Flowers emit heavenly music. Remember this stuff? I think you're going to be writing about it again soon, right? Flowers emit flowers. And those flowers emit more flowers, and those flowers emit flowers. And a lot of this is all too much for the Chinese, but there's some key components of it that really go along with Chinese way of being, and that then are manifested as for one thing, the circle, the circular full moon, whose glow floods everything within the garland of flowers. That appeals to the Chinese. The Chinese already, from Taoism, have some sense about the circle of life, the circle of being, the circle of seasons. Chinese are into nature and the circular. You get this, really, they get this from Taoism, or you could say Taoism gets it from them. I don't care. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Chinese and Japanese in a moment, but first I need to, now I'm going to really confuse those of you who are novices at all this stuff by moving to the Heart Sutra, because the Heart Sutra is another one of these sutras from India that is hard for the Chinese to get at first. So the scholars say, I mean, I'm just reading, how do I know? That's what the scholars say. Because it has so much negativity in it, so much emptiness, no this, no that, no that. So they much prefer the positivity that comes from the garland, the flower garland sutra. But I need to talk about the Heart Sutra because we chant it every day here, and it is, the end of it serves as a precursor for the Huayan. Now, I can't say historically it serves as a precursor, but in my, because historically things are kind of mixed up as to when the Heart Sutra actually came into China and all that stuff. But we won't get into that. The Heart Sutra, which is one of the Prajnaparamita, the non-dual sutras, points out the emptiness of every person and object, the emptiness of Jenny and Tim and this glass and this clock, the emptiness of each of you guys, and that's all it does for 3/4 of the time, 80% of the time. And so what it's doing is it's in a very meticulous way of dissing the core beliefs of 400 years of Buddhism. And they're done very meticulously. So it's like if we were kind of to gather afterwards and decide what our core beliefs were, and then we every morning we chanted, no, 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 no. And why? Because our beliefs separate us from each other. All right, they do. They separate us from each other. And most of the harm and most of the worries and most of the violence in this world is from, my belief versus your belief, or my no belief versus your belief. Oh, it's sad, but we do that. So the Heart Sutra helps liberate us from this, although it's liberating us from a whole way of believing of 2,000 years ago. But that's okay. That's okay. And it also negates our immediate sense experience. You would think it would be enough to negate all of our beliefs, but then it negates all of our sense experience by saying no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no sight, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of sight, ... no realm of mind consciousness. It gets tired of negating everything, so it gives a ... Assumes we've done enough. But this is not Chinese culture. This is not Taoist culture. The Taoism and Chinese, and even Confucianism, love sensory experience. And tea ceremony from Zen, or where's Jeremy? He's somewhere, sensory experience. But the Heart Sutra is saying basically we get caught on our sensory experience too, and we crave more sensory experience. So that's all made up stuff too. As soon as we discriminate one sense from another, that's all made up. I got to do this talk in 45 minutes, so I got to keep moving. Although I could talk a lot more about that. So then towards the end of the Heart Sutra, having emptied out all of our limited beliefs, as well as our sense experience, with nothing to attain, the mind is without hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Far beyond all inverted views, one realizes nirvana. Wow, nirvana. Oh, it was worth it to chant all that even every day if we're going to every morning realize nirvana. pretty easy. So deep letting go, deep release prepares us for the one and all in one of Huayan. Prepares us for that because we clear all this crud out, and then we feel this wonderful interconnection. 2-dimensionally, 3-dimensionally, 4-dimensionally, 8-dimensionally, 32-dimensionally. We don't know. We don't know. We just enjoy it. So then the Heart Sutra ends, gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, gone beyond, gone completely beyond. So we've gone beyond all of that stuff that stuck in our head. And then we have the last two words, awake, wonderful, or awake, yippee, or awake, hallelujah, in your translation, bodhisvaha. Now we're ready to get into Huayan because we're awake to the wonderful joy of everything. Having negated all of our clinging to things as if they were real, we enjoy them as being part of an interdependent flow of life. They're neither real nor not real. They're asvabhava. They're without own being. They don't have their own being, but that means their inner being. You get it? It's pretty wonderful. So the Chinese were not too happy with the Indians dwelling on emptiness, 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 shunyata, shunyata, shunyata. But they deduced, and the Avatamsaka Sutra helped them, that if asvabhava, nothing has its own being, that everything is inner being. And so they emphasize that, the inner being, the interdependent linkness of all life. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. A deep joy, bodhi, awake, svaha, wonderful joy. That's not of time, you guys. It's not of time. It's not of time because it's here. It includes time. It's just not of time. You understand? It includes time. It's not of it. We call this, or I call this, the journey through dukkha to sukha. Through dukkha to sukha. Through all this suffering. Boy, you guys who are just here tonight, you wouldn't want to come to one of our retreats. You wouldn't. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. I'm getting to be old and I'm getting out of here soon. I've done enough of these things. Dukkha to sukha. Dukkha meaning suffer. We suffer as human beings. We don't need to go to a retreat to know that. And we cause suffering to others a lot. Sukha, deep happiness. Deep happiness, again, that's not limited by time. That's here, it's here, there, everywhere, all in one and all. Interdependence, inner being. And Nagarjuna is the philosophical interpreter of this stuff in the Heart Sutra and all the Prajnaparamita Perfecta Wisdom Sutras. And he's the major philosopher of these. And he is Naga, serpent, Juna, he's the serpent hero. He's the serpent hero. He's the hero. The serpent who is the hero. He's the shape-shifting serpent hero. Shape-shifting. Everything is shifting. Always shifting. Hard for us as human beings. But he's the hero. He shows us how to do this. Now, he doesn't do it in this playful way my teacher did. He does it in this logically precise and negative way. No, people come to him with many different beliefs, and he shows their logical inadequacy. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's Indian brilliant, but the Chinese want a little more levity in their lives. Well, you guys do too, I know. I know these two-dimensional people do. I don't know about you three-dimensional people. You've got enough levity because you've just been sitting here and enjoying the last 3 days. Or is this 3 days, 2 days, whatever. So the Chinese, but Nagarjuna makes one really important comment. He says, it is interdependent co-arising that we call emptiness. So emptiness, emptiness, emptiness. But even he acknowledges that it's interdependent co-arising, even though it seems like emptiness echoes throughout all of these texts. And so this is where Huayan takes off from, the interdependent co-arising. So the Chinese then take this, they're more concrete, they're more practical, they're more, how does this relate to me? This Indian stuff that these Indian Buddhists have brought over and adjusted to their culture, to their lives, as we're now adjusting it to our culture and our lives. India, China, Japan, the US, who knows what's next? Concrete, practical. Hard work, they emphasize. They didn't like this, that these Indian Buddhists, all the monks, never did any work, that they just mooched off the people. So Zen starts with work, manual labor. Chan starts with manual labor. And before the Chinese monasteries got really rich, the monks did a lot of manual labor. I don't know by the time they got rich. Well, once they got rich, they were out of favor. But anyway, I don't have time to talk about that tonight. Sense of humor, not too much humor. We've been spending, 3 years on these Indian sutras. I love them, but there's not too much humor in them. But there's sure a lot of humor in Chan and Zen. And Huayan, actually, no, there's not much humor in Huayan either, but Huayan is fullness rather than emptiness. So that's humorful in and of itself. So we can imagine, this is what one scholar said. You see, I've been reading for these talks. So I retired from about 7 or 8 years ago, and I never had much time to read about Buddhism before then. I just was sitting here. I had to give talks. I like giving talks and helping people. But then once I got retired, I started really reading, learning all kinds of fascinating stuff. I think I'm just sort of in my pre-teens in terms of learning about Buddhism. I love this stuff. I love it. I know you probably think I'm crazy, but I never thought I'd get into it. When I read Alan Watts, I thought, why would anybody read about Buddhism? I don't know if you know Alan Watts. He was my first, quote, teacher, unquote, in his book, that is, his books, many books. So we can imagine them, the Chinese, said this scholar, chuckling at the attitudes and practices which seem so otherworldly and irrelevant to their day-to-day lives. And so when Huayan also means flower garden, as Avatamsaka does it. One is Sanskrit, the other is Chinese. So as Huayan comes into force, there's attention to nature and its rhythms, as with Taoism. Taoism is already in China. So nature and its rhythms, which are passed on to us through our teachers, and you could say through our teachers, but just through being, just through emptying our mind and being. We feel so grateful to have a lake like Bide Makaska. We feel so grateful. We want to take care of it. We want to take care of it. So the Chinese don't get this reincarnation thing at first. The Confucians don't get it. The Taoists don't get it. And the Buddhists are all talking about bringing into China earning merit, doing good karma, and getting reborn in a good way. Well, that's not part of Taoism or Confucianism, but gradually they accept it, but it's not their favorite thing. Not their favorite thing, because it's not in sync with their way of life. The idea of prolonged effort to get reborn in a more enlightened state bothers them at first. It seems weird to them at first. Still bothers me. It seems weird to me. So there you go. But not to put them down. I mean, some of my relatives are, really think it's important rebirth is important. So maybe it is. Maybe it is. But I'm more interested in birth now. Being born now, alive, until all is one. One is all, right now. Letting all these cobwebs just go so we feel a deeper web than the cobwebs. A deeper web, the web of our all being together in this wonderful ecosystem, in this room, in this city, in this world. We're not taking good care of this ecosystem. We need some Huayan teachers. We didn't have enough people really practicing Huayan. How do we get ourselves into this situation? Gee, are we going to have grandchildren and great-grandchildren? Huayan, we're all interconnected. It's all of us together, including the glaciers that are melting. That's part of us. We're melting along with those glaciers. We are. But we're all joined. So as bad as it is, it's not bad, because we're all here together. We're all joined. It's all inner being. And inner being is love, but it's not love, lovey-dovey love. It's just appreciation love. It's just joyous appreciation of ourselves and each other love. So the Chinese were more focused on the particular than the universal. This tree, these snowflakes out here, including all life within them, each snowflake. If you look at it, you'll see everything. So, well, I think I've done pretty well time-wise. Okay. So I'll give some examples from my San Francisco teacher, Shinryu Suzuki, which some of you have heard these examples more than once. I'm a little embarrassed to share them again, but not too embarrassed. Once I get into it, I won't be embarrassed at all. So here's some Huayan teaching from my teacher, Shinryu Suzuki, Dao Sho. Dao Sho. So my grandmother wanted to meet him in San Francisco, my Catholic grandmother, because she wanted to meet a Buddhist priest, and she knew that I was practicing Buddhism. A Buddhist priest, dear? You're practicing with a Buddhist priest? Yes, Grandma. She said, oh, well, you never come to visit any of my Catholic priests, but you're visiting a Buddhist priest. I said, yes, every day, Grandma. Dear, that's interesting. She was really saying, dear, dear me. But anyway, but then she said, I want to meet that Buddhist priest. I want to meet that Buddhist priest. And so I said to Linda, I bet we could have Grandma and Suzuki over to dinner. I mean, this is before anybody knew Suzuki. I'm really old, you guys. I am. So yeah, so we decided to have Suzuki and Grandma to dinner. My grandma, my Irish Catholic grandma, who was wonderful support to me. I got to call out to my grandma's spirit. My grandma gave me money, which then I gave to Zen Center to buy this building. Thank you, Grandma. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But I used my grandma's. My grandma's was shrewd, so she said, well, dear, if you're going to give that, give it as a loan. So I gave a no interest loan, which Zen Center board paid back pretty rapidly. When I told Grandma just before she died, I don't have time to talk about that. So where are we? My grandma over to dinner. So my grandma over to dinner, and Suzuki Roshi and Linda cooks, and I pour the water. I'm always good at pouring water when other people cook. And I vacuumed ahead of time. Cleaned up the apartment. Okay, so there they are, and we have a little kitten, and our little kitten is black and very frisky. And Suzuki comes in his traveling robes, and even his traveling robes have pretty baggy sleeves. I don't know, I can't remember then what it was. If it was a Hipari he was wearing, I don't know, it was black. And so our little kitten sees him, sees the robes. I was very excited. Starts batting at the robes. And Suzuki looks at the kitten and he bats back. and the kitten then bats at him and he bats at the kitten. The kitten bats at him. And of course, the more I tell this story, the more it turns into something phantasmagorical. So I've now in my mind, having told this story 15, 20 times over the years, I have them rolling on the floor together. The cat and Suzuki Roshi, they're all black, you know. And Suzuki Roshi giggling. I have no idea, I've told it too many times. So I don't know what happened anymore. You know how these things get embedded in your memory. But I do remember my grandmother had a good time, and I called her the next day, or she called me the next day, and she said, well, I had a really nice time at your house. Linda cooked a good dinner. And that man I met, you said was your teacher, you did say he was a priest, didn't you, dear? And if any of you guys know anything about Catholicism back then, you get it. And I said, yes, Grandma, he was a priest. Are you sure, dear? Yes. 6 months later, she asked me, she says to me, well, I had a wonderful time. You're still hanging out with that man? Yes. And you said he was a priest, dear? She can't get her head around. She's got some image of what a priest should be like. We carry these images around. And these images separate us from just the joy of being with each other, just the joy of being in life. So a second Suzuki story, which I probably only told once. So maybe twice, I don't know, my memory's getting worse and worse, maybe 20 times. So anyway, so at Tassajara Zen Monastery, where I spent 3 months when I was a young man, Suzuki, my teacher, talked every night. He gave a Dharma talk every night. and I don't remember him having notes. There was not good light because we just had lanterns, but he didn't seem to talk from notes. I don't know, except when he was teaching classes. He talked every night, and then afterwards, the next day, we'd be getting ready for work meeting, and a bunch of us would be standing around, and we'd be saying, and we started saying to each other, last night, was that a man or a woman talking? Because we couldn't tell. Sometimes it seemed to be a woman, and sometimes it seemed to be a man. We couldn't tell. And it was wonderful that we didn't know. We didn't care. We didn't need to identify the gender. So this was gender fluidity before anybody even talked about it, right? He was just being alive. He was just being alive. Do we have to get stuck on some gender when we're just alive? I don't think so. We may identify more with one gender than another. That's wonderful, and that should be honored. But all the genders are here. They're all manifesting themselves in one way or another if we just let go of all of the stuff we learned. They're here. So the Huayan people turned Nagarjuna's negation of the negation of the negation into the affirmation of the affirmation of the affirmation. A multifaceted affirmation. So in Chinese, Huayan, separate things and the sensations and feelings that they evoke are wonderful, because with each one is included everything else, all beings, all life. It's immediate, multi-directional, and circles expand infinitely, circle upon circle upon circle. So all life is made up of interwoven ecological systems. They don't know anything about ecology. There's no such word. I asked my friend who knows Chinese, and he said he didn't know the word for ecology. There must be a word. He didn't know the word for ecology. This is ecology in the 5th century in China, built on the 1st century in India or the 2nd century in India. Pretty cool. I mean, really, that's what it is. It's ecology. Time's immediate and multi-directional. All life is made up of these interwoven ecological systems. It's complex shaping of relationships within the zendo, within the room, within our families, within our world. They're shaping us, we're shaping them. And if we just calm down and settle down, we begin to appreciate this dynamism. We just feel this dynamism, this asvabhava, this nothing has own being because everything is interspersed being. Always interspersed. So I went to see my Chinese teacher Tolan around the time I had taken Suzuki out to dinner. I went to Tolan's once a week, and I went to Zen Center every morning. Anyway, my Chinese teacher Tolan, I told him I'd moved from Palo Alto to San Francisco, and I was leaving home. I said, my dad is really a materialist. And he looked at me and he said, respect your parents. He was a Confucian, right? He was a Chinese Confucian. Respect your parents. When you do that, you respect the circle of nature. He said this to me in Mandarin with a translator, which includes all life, he said. Respect your parents. Well, I didn't like that. I didn't like it because my dad had given me a really hard time and he didn't get anything that I was doing. But anyway, I'm remembering it now, all these years later. And then he said, everything and everyone, your family. He was speaking from Huayan Chan. Chan being Zen in China. Everything and everyone, your family. Isn't that wonderful? You know, as a therapist, we used to have a saying when the therapists would get together, oh, another dysfunctional family. Oh, I saw another dysfunctional family. Oh, and then we got the idea, Well, why do we have to use the word dysfunctional? Because there aren't any families that aren't dysfunctional. And actually, all the families that are dysfunctional are functioning. They're functioning. So let's join into the Huayan dance, you guys. Let's join into the Huayan dance. So when my dog has too much heat, she wants shade or water. She pays attention to her ecosystem, right? When my cat is too cold, she goes to the windowsill. My body, as it's aging, is adjusting. Minnesota was great for a young body. I came here at first, I loved it, the winters, I did. Now, my older body, I have my long underwear on under my pants. I've got the heater cranked up to some obscene level that it's just portable, so don't worry. I'm supposed to remember to turn it off when I go home. I'm trying to remember, but since my advanced age, I might forget. I might have to come up there and look, see if I did it. Anyway, so my body, my ecosystem here, it's adjusting. Warmer clothes, more layers. As it ages, right? As it ages. So how can there be any climate change deniers? But they're deniers, but they're taking care of some ecosystem to live. So if we could help them without preaching to them, broaden their sense of wanting to take care of an ecosystem. But if we preach to them, it won't work. You know that. My father was a staunch Republican, materialist, but he knew about ecosystems. He never talked about ecosystems. We didn't have that word back then, but he took me into the Sierras every summer and talked to me about enjoying nature by learning the shape of the rivers and the mountains. We went up in the Sierras to Golden Trout Camp every winter, and he said, just take in the shape of the rivers and the mountains. If we do that, we feel some appreciation for them and some kindness toward ourselves as manifesting rivers and mountains within us. So let's see, 8:09. I have 11 minutes. I have 11 minutes, and I'm supposed to talk about Indra's net next. Ooh. Well, many of you already know about Indra's net. So I'm going to talk in these series of talks about 4 metaphors that Huayan people use, and the most prominent one, the most is Indra's net. Raise your hand if you're familiar with Indra's net, because if enough people are, I won't need to talk too much about it. Yeah. Okay. Well, those of you guys who don't know it, just take it for granted that it's cool. Indra's net. Indra is the Hindu god. I guess I have to say this. Indra is the Hindu god who spreads out a multi-layered jewel net, which is the universe. And within each net, there is a jewel. There's a Jinni jewel, and a Tim jewel, and a Jiryu jewel, and a Zafu jewel, and a Zabuton jewel, and a clock jewel. And each of the jewels in the net reflects all the other jewels. All in one in all. And if you just enjoy the one jewel, all the jewels are there. But you have to practice. So this is what Huayan doesn't. This is why we need Zen. You have to practice removing all that cakes of dust from the jewels, because if you know how your minds, even after 3 days of sesshin, are clogged up, you have to just let them unclog so you can appreciate that your jewel is the jewel of the universe, and that the jewel of the universe is your jewel, and that the net is always supporting. And because wherever each thread, each link each thread has a jewel, and each link is a being, And only when the Tim jewel is just as he is, without wishing he were another jewel, does he appreciate the whole net that's supporting him. This is the catch. This is the catch. That's why emptying our minds helps us. Opening ourselves up helps us. The more we accept and cherish ourselves, just as we are, flaws and all, our flawed jewel is reflecting all the other jewels. And within the crack of our flawed jewel are all the jewels. All the jewels are perfectly imperfect, imperfectly perfect. The more I feel supported by you guys, the more I cherish you. It's just the way life is. What life is. Drew did some things that were really supportive of me today, and that I couldn't help saying some loving things to him, even though I don't even know him very well. I know him. I know him very well, even though I don't. Because at base, that's what it is. That's what it is. So when conflicts have escalated and a sense of connectedness is damaged or overlooked, just remember the net supporting you. Just remember it, and have the courage to live internally with all of your parts, just being there, being alive with them. Inside, all your different parts, just letting them be, the parts that are punitive, feeling those, letting them be, interpunitive from your parents or some bad experience, you letting them be, and then the jewel is part of that too. We can't have a partial jewel, it has to be a whole jewel. Dogen calls that whole being Buddha nature. But it's a crack still. It's cracked, it's got lots of cracks in it, it's just whole because it allows all the parts. An ecosystem allows all the parts to just manifest themselves as they are. So if we're trying to do climate change, if we're worried about the pipeline, some of you guys are working on the pipeline. Oh, that's externally. That part isn't being taken care of. That reservation land is being sullied. We're forgetting those Native American brothers in our own land through leaking oil. So we need to do something. And there are many different things we can do. So externally, the parts make up the whole ecosystem. Internally, they do. Externally, internally. As practitioners, jewel practitioners, we do both. External and internal. The more we do internal, the more we can do external. The more we do external, the more we can do internal. If I do external, then I feel a deep connection, and that helps me feel connected to my needy parts of myself. You know how you when you help someone, you feel good? And even the needy part of yourself just is quiet for a little while, feels taken care of. You know that? I mean, if you really help someone from your heart, it's the ecosystem that Huayan is preaching about. Well, I guess I said to Ben something about not preaching. And he said, well, isn't that really all we do is preach? And I thought, that guy, maybe so. But one of my favorite Zen teachers says, no preaching on oneness. Because if we preach on oneness, we leave out two-ness and three-ness and four-ness and eight-ness and 32-ness. But it's all part of the web. The oneness is the web because it's the two-ness and the 32-ness. Do you understand? You can get this in you. This isn't just intellectual. You can get this in you, but you have to settle down. Settle down. Just be here. If you're caught by before and after, you miss this. Before and after are important. Take care of them. But the net is here. It's here, right here. Oh, I've got 4 minutes, Julio. Oh, you said I had till 8:15, but I'm going to take till 8:20 because the schedule says 8:20. Let's see. Well, and I'm leaving a lot of stuff out here. But what gets left out is in. What's in is out. What out is in. So I'm sad that I'm leaving it out, but that's okay. It's good to be sad. That's my jewel is sad. I have a sad jewel. I don't want to think about the pipeline anymore. I get really sad, really sad. I got so much support from Native Americans in my life, so much support. Elmer Running, Dio Show, Black Elk, Dio Show. Anyway. So, Robert Aiken says, one of my teachers, Aiken Roshi, is long gone, but not gone. Hearing the crickets at night, I vow with all beings to find my place in the harmony crickets enjoy with the stars. My teacher. Hearing the crickets at night, I vow with all beings to find my place in the harmony crickets enjoy with the stars. So when I go home tonight, the birds will all have left our backyard. But what my wife has done the last year, she's an introvert. She's an introvert, but birds are not, she's not introverted from birds. So we have bird feeders and bird baths all around our yard. Linda goes out in the snow and makes me put my boots on to fill up the bird bath with hot water and to fill up the bird feeders. If I went home at noon, which I will be doing on Friday, but I leave too early in the morning to see the birds, but there'll be 60 or 70 sparrows in our back. I think we seem to be the uptown sparrow haven. No, we have some cardinals, but even the cardinals think, wow, these sparrows are too much. Talk about an ecosystem. They just take over. And the woodpeckers look askance, but they're waiting. When the sparrows just calm down, settle down, the cardinals come in. They come in at the beginning of the day and the end of the day because the sparrows have already gone. And the woodpeckers too. Ecosystem. She's taking care of ecosystem. We've lost a lot of birds in Uptown. A lot of birds because we used to have our cats out prancing around, killing birds. Everybody did. And we lost, somebody said we've lost 80% of our bird population in the Twin Cities due to cats. So my wife is making amends. She's doing Catholic contrition. My wife's not in, she dislikes religion, but anyway, she loves birds and she's got this whole interconnected relationship with them. And she includes me a little bit, and I love it. I love being included. So they're ecosystem upon ecosystem supporting us, and we can support them anytime, any place. Well, I think, it's 8:20. Well, this has been wonderful being with you, and let's just continue on and enjoy our jewels and everybody else's jewel. We don't have to do anything. It's already here. We may think we have to do something. No, the net's here. You don't have to do anything. Nada. Our Father who art in nada, nada be they nada. Ernest Hemingway, by the way. Our Father who art in nada, nada be thy nada. Nada that includes everything. Poor Ernest Hemingway didn't realize that, the poor guy. Oh, he had a hard life. He was wonderful, but he had a really hard life. Well, lots of us had hard lives. Huayan knows that. Huayan knows that. We know that. But hard is not hard because we're supporting each other. Everything's supporting us. Thank you for your attention.